What is going on, everybody? How's it going? Thanks again for joining me for another BG Wednesday live podcast. So, guys, as we've been doing for the past couple of weeks, let's start off with this disclaimer real quick, just to get it out of the way. So, disclaimer: all of the subject matter and the topics that are going to be discussed in this show tonight are for entertainment purposes only. Wink, wink. All right, guys. So I've been welcoming new people over to the new followers over at Rumble and on YouTube as well. And I just want to say thanks to all of you for coming over and checking me out and liking what you see. I think that's pretty awesome. So, of course, I want to welcome all of my new subscribers on YouTube. Thanks so much, guys. I told you why I'm not usually on YouTube. I'm still kind of in the shadow ban fault there. They don't really like me that much there. So, but again, nonetheless, if you're listening to me on YouTube, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then, yeah, I wanted to bring up some of the new followers who just started following me a couple days ago. We got Ghost Arrow. He just followed me 10 hours ago. We got Kelly 984. Thanks for coming over to the BGcast fam, Kelly. We got Doom Trooper 73. We got Vishnu's Dream. Thanks so much, guys, for giving me a follow and checking me out. I really appreciate it. It's really cool to see, how I've grown over these past two seasons, and season 3 is just around the corner. And I have a lot of good stuff ready for next year. And of course, at the end of December, I'll be taking my little 2-week hiatus just to give myself a break and to work on some new things. So next season, I'm looking to have a new look, and we're going to have a better intro and an outro as well. I'm working on crafting my own. So it's going to be fun and it's going to be interesting. And I just really want to say thank you to all of you who sit there and take the time to listen and to check me out and to, understand that we're here learning together. Like I've always said, we're in the same shoes. I don't know more than you. I just have my ideas. I just have my speculations. I have my core beliefs, and you guys who have been with me for a while, understand what those are. But, everything else is open to change, and everything is open to growth and evolution and expansion. So nonetheless, let's get to my guest. She has been on my show before. She is a good friend of mine. She's been on a couple of episodes. We have broken down. So she lives in the town of Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And we have broken down the very, very strange corruption. And I even say weird occult energy that kind of exists in this town. Based on my previous discussions with Rachel, there's something very strange going on there. And we're going to kind of like touch base where we left off. If you guys have not seen the first 2 episodes with Rachel, I will link them in the stream after we are done tonight if you'd like to catch up on our previous conversations. But nonetheless, let's welcome Miss Rachel Sunshine to the stage. What is up?
Hey, Steven. Thanks for inviting me.
Very no problem. It's good to have you back on. How are things going?
They're going great. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. And, it's been a very very interesting year, and now we're at the point where we're coming up on a very interesting end of the year, and everybody's energies on high, and I'm just sitting here just with my popcorn and watching the show. That's the best thing we can do right now, right?
Right. I think we have like 6 days left until we see if my prediction comes to fruition and there is actually no 2024 election.
If you don't mind real quick, let's dive into that just a little bit because I'm kind of with you on that. What I commented on your post earlier in the week is my what I think is going to happen is, yes, it's very possible there won't be an election. Also, too, I feel they're gonna draw the hell out of this, and I mean they're going to it's going to be the equivalent of watching paint dry. Is
Yes.
kind of where I'm at this point. And then when you put the patience of an unhealed population in a vice grip, and you keep just crunching on that vice grip, the bad things are going to come from that. And But no, let's hear your explanation because I've not only heard this from you, I've heard this from others. So I definitely want to hear why you've come to this conclusion.
I am actually shocked, downright shocked, that we still have the election going right now.
Mhm.
What you're referencing there is one of my statuses from last week where I just like woke up from a dream and I was like, whoo, cold sweat, realizing that it doesn't even matter if Trump wins because the Democrats are going to have a violent coup if he does. Like, it is going to happen. But my belief was, and we did this during one of your little round table discussions where
Oh
I predicted that we were not going to have a 2024 election. And the reason why is because I thought that the Democrats were going to do a violent coup already. And I guess I'm just a little bit early on this. Maybe that's what it is. But I sincerely believe that the 2024 election is not going to be counted. It's going to be put on pause. It's going to be like paint drying, maybe even worse. And so this is what we're dealing
It's
with.
gonna be crazy.
And all I can tell you is they have to have a plan. They just
Oh,
totally have to have a plan for stealing this election and enacting the tyranny that they so desperately, I mean, they so desperately want it. And it looks like they're going to get it. It looks like they're going to get it to me. So that's why I don't think that there's going to be an election. I think that they're going to heist it. I think that's what's going to happen. A real coup.
I'm kind of so the one thing I saw this circulating around X the other day. And like I play non-attachment with the world stage, and but I was looking at it, and I did find it interesting. So it was a tweet from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she was talking about how the Democrats are running military exercises right now in Washington D.C. So I mean that definitely lends credence to what you're saying, and I'm going to be 100% honest on this. That would most certainly cause some kind of civil war, and I think that's exactly what they want.
Well, I think that we already started a civil war. I think that that's already been going on. So, I am educated. I have degrees in political science and religious studies with an emphasis in law. So that's what I went to school for. And then I realized that I was selling out to horrible, horrible people. And no, it gets worse, I promise, as life went by. And I realized just how horrible things could actually be. But I didn't go to law school because I realized that I would be practicing fraud. And
Mhm.
so, but I still learned so much, and yeah, everything is just super illegal. And back before the Civil War, we had a president named Franklin Pierce who actually started bleeding Kansas, is what it's known as. It's a historical event where we were deciding whether a state, when they were enacted into the Union, was going to be free or a slave state. And this is the question that came up for Kansas. And so Franklin Pierce came up with this brilliant idea. He was like, you know what? Whoever gets there first, that's the kind of state it's going to be. Good luck. So, like, slave owners flocked to the state and abolitionists flocked to the state. And before you knew it, during an election, they were actually shooting each other in the street. So
Mhm.
it became bleeding Kansas, Kansas literally bleeding in the streets. And we believe
Right.
historically that that was actually the event that started the Civil War, even though the Civil War started formally under Abraham Lincoln, it technically started under Franklin Pierce. And so I'm under the belief that we had the Civil War start January 6, 2021, not by Trump supporters, but actually it was a coup by leftists. So and
Okay.
historically, there have been historians who actually look at what a silent military coup does. And there are 8 stages of that silent military coup. And it does include like making sure that the head of the state is not accessible by putting up fencing and things like that. So those 8 stages, we went through those in 2021. And so we've been living under some sort of military regime for the past 4 years. And now they've got to make it official. So it's either going to be a silent coup where they steal the election or a violent coup where they actually start the Civil War. That's what I believe personally.
So we got a comment here from Andrew, Heavyweight Slice Feels. Thanks, man, for being here, Andrew. It's good to see you. I used to hate history, but now I can't get enough of it. It's so fascinating. I agree, man. And here's the thing that you're talking about. I'm with you, Rachel. And one of the biggest things I've noticed kind of emerged since 2021, because at least in my eyes right now, we're on kind of a different playing field than we were back in the 1800s. And I'm not saying that physical warfare won't happen. I do think that, we're taking looks at it. We have examples of it right now going on throughout the globe. But I've noticed that if this breaks out, I mean, even since 2021, we've had a very huge mental aspect to the warfare, and it's kind of been showcasing itself fully. I mean, and now we see them trying to program, the population into thinking that, I saw these articles that Trump is equivalent to Hitler or Stalin, and this is kind of the programming that they're trying to do. They're trying to filter this into the subconscious of the collective, and they're trying to start hitting off on the psychological schemas that exist within us all. And they're trying to set this stage, and I agree with you. I do think it started in 2021, and the mental aspect started, but I think now we're kind of gearing up towards the crescendo, as I would call it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Actually, the cadence of the whole situation is just coming to a peak. It's coming to a climax here. um you know I think that they planned this all the way back in 1803. I've mentioned my little pamphlet before, how medical tyranny murdered the United States Constitution.
And I have
When
that in the description of the video if any of you guys want to check that
Awesome.
out.
Awesome. It's free. So when they wrote the Constitution, they actually were like, people who still loved the crown were part of that. They were actually part of that. It wasn't like everybody was like a gung ho, we should have rebelled against England. So some of those people who were involved with that were totally for a centralized government. Some of them
Mhm.
wanted a monarchy, and everybody was like, what the hell are you thinking? You're crazy. And so we came to that middle ground called a constitution. It's our working together agreement. It is a contract, right? And when they wrote that contract, as you know, some people can be superfluous or illusory in their contracts. And so that is what I believe happened in the writing of the Constitution, is that they left those legal holes and gaps purposefully. And then the government has taken the pleasure of expanding their own powers through those holes and
Mhm.
gaps. And so, yes, I love history because it gives you the answers to why things don't make sense now. Why don't things make sense now? Okay, so I got to look all the way back to like 1789, really, for me to figure out the problem. But then, philosophically, we're going back thousands of years to even figure out, like, why does humanity love? I mean, we crave it, we need it, that illegitimate authority. We just, we're like little chihuahuas just climbing on its leg and just humping it furiously. We cannot help ourselves. It is
That's
incredible. And I'm just sitting here, and it's like what you said on that post about the violent coup and how an unhealed country and poking that bear, what is that going to do? Bad things are going to happen. That's exactly what I think is going to happen. We have a country of basically not fully developed adults. Like, we don't have like emotional maturity, we don't
Oh
have
yeah.
mental maturity, we're not handling situations from a place of like patience and calmness. We're handling it from a place of like fear and anxiety. So it's all about like the fight or flight situation. We're always flying, basically. I don't even think we're fighting. We're just basically fleeing with hard anxiety and not actually facing what's going on in our country. And the reason why is because if you say anything, you're Hitler.
if you yeah, it's almost as if you criticize Trump, you're for Kamala, and if you criticize Kamala, you're for Trump.
And
It's like where did these lines meet? It's like we can't objectively criticize anybody anymore. It's
somebody
yeah.
said to me, like, uh, and I said this because they said the majority of people are Democrats. And I said, actually, the majority of people don't vote. It's like
Mhm.
41 to 43% of people don't vote. And he was like, well, if you go into the restaurant and you choose not to eat, don't be mad if you starve, you know? And then the conversation kept going. And he was like, well, you know, what are you going to do if you don't eat? What's the alternative to the restaurant? And I said, sir, clearly there is an alternative to the restaurant because 43% of the people aren't even going inside. And he
Oh,
was
yeah,
like, oh, okay. Yeah, that actually makes sense. I'm like, yeah, there has to be an alternative. You
it's a
know,
good way
the
of summing that
alternative,
up.
not don't support this nonsense. This is literal nonsense. All the world is a stage. This is all planned. You know, who is it planned by?
That's and I'm with you on that too, because that's once I got enough evidence, at least for myself, that I saw that the CIA ultimately controls both sides of the bipartisan system. I was at that point. I'm like, so let me get this straight. We're literally playing insanity every 4 years, and we look at the definition of insanity, and it's doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and that's exactly what we're doing. And to me now, there's like even a dose of irony for me to watch all of these people run to the polls, both sides voting for the same entity and the same outcome, and they truly feel that that what they're doing, it matters. And I wanted to touch on something you said earlier real quick though. So like you were saying, we have a lot of underdeveloped people. So one of the biggest things I say is we have a lot of children in adult bodies, walking around this society. I mean, children mentally, obviously, if we're looking at the physical aspect, they are adults. And, but that's what we have, is because when you look at what's promoted and put on a pedestal as far as development as a human adult here, I mean,
Yep.
especially in the United States, it's materials, it's
Yep.
consuming. None has nothing to do with mental health. It has nothing to do with being a better person. Even something I said today is, I was talking about how I think what's really going to help us is bringing back a spiritual way of life to the forefront of our society. And, a lot of people want to go, well, no, we can't have the marriage of church and state again. It's not that. I think that's why I don't understand why everybody's brain just gravitates immediately to, oh, I want the Pope sitting in Congress. That's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying that
Right,
we
and
need to put go ahead. Yeah, yeah.
I actually wouldn't mind if the Pope was in Congress. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
No, 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 no. You're all good. I mean, well, I'm getting to that. We have to put the path of the good person in the forefront of our societal norms. We have to stop putting, egotism, narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy on a pedestal in this society, and we need to start putting things like compassion, understanding, empathy, things like that on a pedestal in this society, because this is ultimately what's going to get us through this. And it's very interesting, man. I can't say at any time, and I'm going on about to be 37 next year. And in my entire lifespan here in this temporary human existence, I haven't experienced anything quite like what we're going through right now. And we've been talking about this ad nauseum for like the past decade plus, and
I know, right?
I think even we're kind of being surprised at this point. We're being caught out of left field, and I find that just so
Uh,
fascinating.
yeah, no, I'm literally like, wow, Mandela effect. I don't know. Am I smoking too much weed? Like, what is going on here? Like, this is whack, you guys. But yeah, no, I actually agree with you on your main point of we need to change the path that we're on, right? So
Mhm.
I'm a certified Scrum Master. And that means that I build teams, right? And something that is really, really important and that's helped me a lot is learning about what a Scrum Master does. So, what a Scrum Master does is we facilitate, we teach, we coach, and we mentor. We bring the team together to work on their working together agreement together by facilitating, coaching, and mentoring them. Okay. So that our team can build the best product, right? So we're
Mhm.
not here to force people to do something that they don't want to do. But what we are trying to do is figure out our commonalities and bringing those together so that we can bring our individual and unique talents together to build the very best product that we can for our stakeholders. So when you think about that, American society, who the stakeholders are, it's the American people. It's certainly not the government, right? And what that would mean to us if we actually did have a caring, empathetic, non completely psychopathic. Yeah, I I mean, I've gotten to the point where, and I know it's terrible, I'm all like, computer, you're a psychopath, you're a psychopath. Okay, you're kind of cool, you're a psychopath. Okay, I'm out, But it seems like there's a lot of psychopaths lately. So and it was not like this, I don't recall, up until about 2015. So in
Mhm.
2015, that's where I really started to notice this change. And since then, I feel like it's wildly out of
Mhm.
control. Why would it be wildly out of control now? One has to wonder. But that's kind of what I have my. I don't know if it would be a religious thought, maybe more like a philosophical theory on how the world is run behind
Mhm.
the veil, right? But
Definitely.
it does intertwine with religion. My
Oh,
thoughts on this.
you
Yeah.
of course, I definitely wanna hear that because yeah, I definitely do because I'm with you. I really started to notice it. I mean, I agree with you. 2015 is when it really started picking up momentum. I personally started to notice it from the years of 2013 to 2014. We saw like the surge of, Black Lives Matter. We saw the surge of Antifa. Um, we kind of saw this conditioning and this muddying of the waters starting to take place. And I'm sure your speculation is going to line up with what I'm going to say is this is we have two things. One, I think that whoever is running this behind the veil, whomever or whatever, I will say, foresaw this coming and foresaw what was going on. And there's a lot of speculation that rolls around in our community that we all can't wake up too quickly. Like that's one of the biggest things, because if we did, it would cause chaos, and they would have to, or the Elohim would have to come and reset the planet again. So that's
Yeah.
that's a very interesting one there. Also, too, I feel that this is a very weird collective alchemical transmutation process we're going through right now. It's like it's very much it's
Mm.
separating the wheat from the chaff. It's separating those who are true and who are truly sovereign and those who are not. So let's get into your explanation on that because, like, I'm very interested to hear, your philosophical speculation on what this is.
Yeah, so we're talking about how corruption knows no bounds here tonight, right? That is because corruption is intertwined into every single level of your life. I don't think that most people can grasp it the way that, I don't know who is in charge, maybe some dude that sits above the table, just one dude that sits above
That
the
guy.
table, that guy, dude number zero, the dude that people thought didn't exist. Maybe they thought he was dead, right? So then you've got this group of people who have been in charge. Gosh, I don't know, based off of, and this is the crazy thing though, the way that I came up with this theory, on a side note, it's not just made up bullshit like, oh, I had a dream,
Mhm.
when like you have a dream your boyfriend cheats on you and then suddenly when you wake up he actually cheated on you. That's not how this happened. Okay, so I didn't wake up and everything was magically real from my dream. If anything, I was abruptly woken up by a group of people who are part of this occult.
Hmm.
Okay, so that happened to me, and they actually ran an operation on me and kind of shook me from my dream of what I thought the world was.
Mhm.
And as they continued to shake me over weeks and weeks and just inundating me with information, I kind of had a mental breakdown, and they were like, oh, she's not working right. Let's tell everybody that she died. Okay, let's do that. So they did do that. And like for months, I would be walking down the street or talking to somebody online, and somebody else would like bust into the conversation like a, nacho conversation. This is a, taco burrito conversation, nachos. And they would just,
A B conversation.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they would see their way into there so hard. And they would be like, wait a second, I thought that you were dead. And I would be like, no, where did you hear such a ridiculous rumor? Right. That happened for like 6 months. While that was happening and people thought that I was dead, they spoke freely about this occult right in front of me. Yeah. Yeah,
So bizarre.
because they didn't think that I knew what they were talking about. So they would say all kinds of ridiculous shit. Like, there's a God who is in charge of everything. He's actually a man that we've put in charge. And there's this weird, creepy family who's in charge of whatever he says to do. And they've got these little, and they've got these little machines where they hack people's brains with electromagnetic frequency resonation. That's what,
That
and like, this is literally what shit people were saying in front of me. They called them Tesla machines,
very strange.
Tesla guns, pew, pew. I'm going
That's
to, yeah, super strange. Okay. And then they literally talked about how they have people they know who have people that they know. And
mhm.
so, like, these people who keep track of you, they're actually just everyday normal Americans. They're like construction workers or grocery store clerks, they're nobody, but they're part of this occult to feed back, and now there's like a bunch of people who are schizophrenic, right? Schizophrenic, who talk about being gang stalked, right? But it's
And we
really
and
just,
we and
yeah,
it's like we now know that, I mean, even on the show in the first season, I had, and that was kind of a big thing for me because that's always been a huge, it's always been a deviation point in our community or conscious collective is, when it comes to gang stalking, a
that's
lot of
because some of them
people.
are gang stalkers.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And and then I had a guy on. I won't say his name, but if you guys want the episode, let me know in the comments or the chat. I will throw it in there. But he actually had a top secret clearance, and he used to work in a lot of government contracting spaces and things like that. And he said, "Oh yeah, gang stalking is real because, like, the days of assassinating you up front are done. We'll just make you kill yourself.
We'll just make you
If
kill yourself. We'll drive you
yeah,
absolutely batshit crazy. You got that helicopter hanging out with you when you come out of Walgreens. That's me, right?
mhm.
You got that helicopter full of military grade men like following you around to a hotel. That's me. You got like people saying that they're Eminem talking to you online and they want to meet you and you're going to be famous. That's me. Oh,
It's
now you're
crazy.
going to be a homeless prostitute? Nope, that's also me. Like, that's what they do. They literally fuck with your mind so badly that they make you want to take your own life. And I
Mhm.
personally witnessed it, right? So when they tried to do it to me, I was like, that's not going to work, bro. I already saw you guys do this like 10 years ago to somebody really close to me, like upfront and personal. So although 10 years ago, no, I didn't put that together. I was in a little dream world. My brain was thinking
Mhm.
about stupid shit. Now that you've revealed this to me, I'm like, oh, okay, that's what happened. I got it. I got it. You all can go fuck yourselves, right? And so that's where my, you know, angry shield maiden persona comes out because
Mhm.
I'm like literally like, let's go toe to toe. Let's do this. All you people who want to work for this occult, like, let's just get it done, right? But that's basically where my philosophical theory is. So we have a bunch of people who are acting psychopathically. Everything seems not real. We're like living in a diluted reality. Everything seems staged. Everything is planned. Everything is controlled. But how are they doing that, right? So my sister, she's really big into philosophy and science. And so we talk about the Einsteinian theories and the
Mhm.
Einsteinian physics that are here in this world. Gravity doesn't exist, you guys. You can't go find a gravitron. It doesn't exist. But the world is a giant magnet and it runs off of frequencies. So, like, spiritually, a lot of people believe that whatever created this plane or this realm actually sang it into existence.
Yes, I
Okay.
love that. I
I
love
love
that.
it. It's one of my favorite theories. I can't help myself. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe actually beautifully portrays how a creature can sing into existence an entire world. And it is amazing. It actually says this biblically. It says that God's sound, God's word, is what created the world. And so the world runs on magnetic resonance frequency. And that
Mhm.
means our brains do, our hearts do, our stomachs do. And if a group of occultists who could have actually found this dead technology and tried to recreate it, like reverse engineer it.
Mhm.
Okay, so this group of people found this technology. They found out about it. Maybe somebody spilled the secret on their deathbed or something, and gave this occult information that they probably should have never had. And so this occult realized, oh man, I need a mathematician. I need an engineer. I need a Pied Piper for the songs. And we need somebody who we can test it on. We need
Very
somebody that
interesting.
we can test it on, right? And
Wow.
so, yeah. And so now here we are, maybe 4,000 years into this, where we've had a group of people who've been other humans,
Mhm.
hacking other humans with resonance frequency. It's not some like supernatural thing that they're doing. You can do it. Anybody can do it.
Mhm.
Like resonance frequency even moves like a little metal ball in sand, for
Mhm.
example. So everything on the planet is manipulated with resonance frequency. Everything is magnetic. We have like iron in our body, iron is magnetic. And so we move like a magnet, and that's just the way that it is. And the Einsteinian theory of gravity covers this up. Okay,
Mhm.
it makes a facade, it makes a veil so that people don't even question if they've been hacked. They don't even
That's
question
very interesting.
it. Okay.
That's interesting. Like that's something I didn't even think about.
Yeah, so they've been doing this for thousands of years, and the population expanded exponentially with indoor plumbing. And so they had to
Mhm.
figure out a way to keep this quelled and without having smart people come forward and say, hey, this is what's happening. So instead of making smart people come forward, they developed all of these lies. And now, if a smart person comes forward, they're crazy. And so,
Ooh.
yes. Okay. And so,
Damn.
yeah, they have this whole system planned out. And they help people go through rituals. So as you stated before, all of our whole society is based on materialism, how much more we can get if we have more than our neighbors. It's all the competition between what we can take from each other. It's not
Mhm.
building a community. And I believe that this value has come from this group of people, this occult who's basically taken over the world and been like, hey, if you work for me, I'll make sure that you get that new boat. I'll make sure that you get that ATV. I'll make sure you get that house. I'll make sure you get that diamond ring. Like, you got it. I have you, baby. Don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is what I say. Right. And everybody has seen what happens to the people who don't do what they say.
Mhm.
Everybody's seen it. They get put on serum lithium for the rest of their lives. Court ordered, ta-da, you're done. Like, just put them in the oven. There you
Or
go.
witness protection program, the
Or
witness. protection
Okay, by
program.
that they mean like, hey, the police have put in like a missing persons report and you're gone for the rest of your life. So,
We're gonna give you a
um,
little bit of plastic surgery to kind of make you look different, and then we're
right?
gonna send
Gosh,
you
I
off
hope
to
they
a
make
very
me prettier. I don't know. Is that possible?
I know, right? It's like, and then they ship you off to this remote part of the world where you
Yep.
know, and the little
They
bit of
ship you
plastic
to
surgery, yeah.
the island,
The
right?
island,
The
yes.
island. And they've made it all sound so spectacular to their cult followers. They're like, damn, I want to go to the island. Why could she get to go to the island? I want to go to the island. Turns out island is death. Turns out that the island is dead.
Mhm.
And
It's
so
dude.
they're actually like taking you to the island, taking a good blood sample, and then taking it to
Mhm.
Lockheed Martin and making several clones of you. So,
Oh yes, yes.
and so they've got the whole plan. They've got the whole plan figured out. And so that to me is actually why the world is so backwards and on such a false path. So these people took a power that doesn't belong to them, the ability to create the world. They're reverse
Mhm.
engineering this ability because they don't know how to do it. So they're frantically playing with resonance frequency. Okay. And as those frequencies ping all over the planet, we have what's called garbage frequencies. They
Mhm.
hit some sort of structure and they bounce back. When they bounce back, they break apart and they cause all of these different various frequencies. Some of them are considered garbage frequencies, frequencies that they don't want to happen. Okay? So that
Okay.
could be why people don't want to have sex and have a family anymore. They want to have
Mhm.
sex with like gay men want to have sex with gay men, gay women want to have
Mhm.
sex with gay women. You think you're a guy when you're actually a girl.
Mhm.
All of these frequencies coming back that don't make any sense, right? And you're cut off. Your brain function is literally cut off, and you have a frequency that is stopping you from questioning. You're going to stop right there from realizing that you've been hacked. So everybody is just like going through life like actual zombies.
Oh,
And even if
100%.
we realize what's happening, what is that movie by Jordan, like that down there place where you're like stuck inside somebody else and
Ooh,
you
I
okay,
gotta think.
it's
I
a
gotta think
scary
of that. Yeah, no.
movie. It's from the guy from Key and Peele, Jordan. He actually Jordan Peele, he produced it, and it's like the place down there or something like that. And
Hold on, let's see
basically,
if we
what
can
they
bring it up.
do is they transfer this guy's personality, they transfer this guy's consciousness, a black guy's consciousness, into a white girl. Okay.
No
And so,
way.
like, yeah. And so he's like, hey, like, let me out of here. And like, she's like, shut up, like inside of me, like inside of her. She's like, shh, quiet, So, like, he's stuck in there and he can't actually get out and say anything. Because even if you did try and say anything, there's nothing there. Your
Well,
brain is a computer, it's been hacked through 8 different levels of psychological warfare, right? Because when you're talking about warfare, you're talking about there's stages of warfare. So there's direct warfare, there's indirect warfare, there's hard warfare, there's soft warfare, there's mental and psychological warfare. It's like the fifth level of war. And then within psychological war, there's like 8 stages of war where it's just like, okay, you've
mhm,
got like mild propaganda all the way to the Havana effect. Okay.
mhm,
So they're talking about what I'm talking about in the news, and they call it the Havana effect, and they literally the Havana syndrome, and they're like, I don't
mhm.
know how this happened, but like somehow their brains were
Do
hacked and like they don't feel good. My special agents don't feel good and they get like a tummy ache and a headache and they want to throw up. But like we can't figure out how their brain has been hacked. You know how their brain has been hacked. You've been
dude,
studying this and testing it for years and years and years. It's ridiculous.
dude. This is so the one thing, I mean, let's touch on what you just said about the earth and the frequencies. As you know, that's something that profoundly resonates with me. Exactly
Ironically.
everything that you just said. Oh yeah, absolutely. It makes quite a bit of sense. And the you kind of laid out also something that I've felt for quite some time and that I've experienced in my own day-to-day life here is we have actors out there. That's what I call them. They're actors. And yes, they could, just be a construction worker. They could be working at the supermarket. They could even be working at your local library. But they have this connection. They have this connection to this invisible college. And you've heard me call it that before. And but how they do it, and here they do it. I think I've talked with you about this before, and this has become. I was actually talking about this, but it's all plausible deniability. That's how they do it. Like you just said, they set up the lie. They used Einstein as kind of like a placemaker for a scientific theory that kind of alleviates the questioning, the asking of something greater. And also too, I mean, we've seen this.
Oh,
I mean, I had a guy on the show, and you'll probably like this too, what I'm about to say. I mean, we have high-ranking Masons and Satanists as pastors in churches,
yeah.
and working at schools. But here's the thing: that's where the plausible deniability comes in. Because if you, just one person, comes out and goes, "Oh my God, our pastor is a Freemason," or our pastor's involved, and everybody's going to look at you like you're fucking nuts because they're going to be like, "You're talking about Pastor Bill? You think
Well,
Pastor Bill is
that's
for
right. It does
exactly?"
not just alleviate the questioning, it shames it. It shames
Hmm.
it into non-existence. How dare you even think about questioning this? And we are so far past and I hate to be like that pessimistic cynic. Yeah,
Hmm.
right. I hate to be that, but I am far past believing that people I think that some people are going to wake up, the people that are supposed to wake up. I
Hmm.
think a vast majority of people, there is no way we're never going to get close to that because when you think about it, go into that church and say that. And Pastor Bill, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Pastor
Well,
Bill, how many people are going to agree with you? Approximately zero,
oh,
right? Because we
100%.
we know that people will do bad things if the majority is doing it. They'll just do it just so that they can fit in. Some people may be like, "Yeah, Pastor Bill's fucking Illuminati," you know what I'm saying? And then that's it, but they're just gonna look at you and eat a cookie from, the brunch sharing table. That's all that they
Yeah.
"Oh, these nice little hors d'oeuvres. Yeah, she's fucking right," you know?
Well, I mean, you're bringing
That's
up
it.
something very, very interesting. I was going to say too is the psychology of the human collective that we're dealing with right now, and this is something I'm big on. I brought this up at another show, and you'd probably a agree. So we got Kyle Lawrence here, real quick, before I get on with this. He said had to rewind to the beginning of the show because I'm late, but I just wanted to say that Rachel is always a great voice to hear. I definitely agree, Kyle. Thank you for
Thanks,
being here
Kyle.
tonight, man.
Thank
But
you.
but so we were talking about in a previous episode of mine, we were talking about like the covert CIA programs that they would do in schools, things like the GATE program and things like that. But this is the psychology of the human being. So like, let's say you had somebody from the CIA call up like the head of the school district and be like, "Hey, this is such and such by the CIA, and we really want to start implementing these new programs in your schools. And if you would do this, you'd really be helping your country." And what normal person, what normal consensual reality person is going to start questioning? Like, no, no, they're not going to.
Well,
Oh,
let's
oh,
think
it's
about
Black
this.
Pill Phil. It's Kyle Parker Lewis. So that's who that was. Kyle, what's up, man? I didn't know this is your YouTube channel, but you see exactly what I'm saying there. It's like this is how they do it. Like, you
Well,
know,
think about how they really do it. All right. They convince us that money has value. So we go and get a job for them, and then we pay them all of our money in the form of necessities and taxes. And then the companies that made all of those monies off of the necessities, they're allowed to go lobby the government to make a law. Now, some of those lobbyists might be CIA agents. So they
mm-hmm.
create a law that says, "Oh, hey, we want to implement these new educational programs in the schools. And so then the government, who they're really good friends with, they get some cash and they say, you know what, really good CIA friend that I don't actually know is a CIA friend, but also I don't care if you're a CIA friend because you just gave me lots of bank. I am super happy to implement these new standards in education for you. So we're going to pass this and we're going to
Yes.
say that this is now the new educational standard for the law. It sounds amazing. You're amazing. And oh my God, a tip. Thank you so
Oh
much.
yeah,
Like,
look at that
yeah.
what that $300,000 tip right there.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
well
Yeah, no. Oh, my 8-year-old's gonna love her new yacht, you know? That's a
Dude, real quick before we go further, I want to say, Elder, thanks for tuning in tonight, man. I appreciate you for being here. It's cool to see you here. 100%. I am actually having a similar debate with someone. Although we all believe in oneness, we also have to accept separation because some people are either fundamentally evil or won't wake up. And even though what I don't think I ever got this from you in the times that we've chatted. What are your thoughts on NPCs? I mean, I've gone back and forth in my own right, because I feel like when we look at some of the stuff that's going on today, it is so blatantly obvious, at least to people like you and I. I mean, it's like they're letting it all hang out now. Like they just literally the fucks have gone out the window.
they are
This
windmilling it.
the things they're helicoptering it, man, like dead serious, and it's like at this point, it's like, how can you not look? I mean, even I don't know if maybe if it's just who I am or not, but if I wasn't who I was today, like, and I was even still looking at this, I would be like, what in the fuck is going on right now? That would be like the biggest question of mine. So, like, what are your thoughts on NPCs? Do you think that is really a thing?
Well, first off, I just want to say over the years, I have moved from the belief that we could actually be one to realizing that, yes, you have to be separate from some people due to the fact that they are evil. So I do agree with that. I want to say that my opinion of NPCs actually intertwines with my pseudo philosophical religious Illuminati
Okay.
Committee of 300, all of that nonsense. So, in my belief here, I believe that group, that table that is running things, I believe that most people are actually clones of their consciousness.
Okay, that's very.
Okay.
Oh man, that's the first time I've heard this one. Please go deeper.
So I believe that they are duplicating themselves in a very fun game of Risk here on planet Earth, in which they use our meat suits to hack and implement and upload their own personalities. So if you have been hacked, you have been hacked by one of these 12 ancient entities. And if you've ever seen the movie Chappie, with Diane
Chappie.
Word, okay, and it's in 2015. Chappie. It is about a police robot AI police robot who actually is birthed as a non-programmed bot. And so when it wakes up, it starts being programmed by a couple of gangsters, and the guy who created the robot gets kidnapped, and the gangsters tell him, like, program this robot to steal, and the guy's like, I can't, like, it's an actual personality, it learns by you teaching it, just like a small child.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy ends up getting shot, and the robot was smart enough at this point in time to be like, I can transfer your consciousness into another robot. Let me do that for you. And so the guy who created the robot actually becomes a robot, and his meat suit is left discarded while his consciousness continues to move on in a robot. And again, the ritual of revelation for these
Mm-hmm.
occultists, where they have to explain to you what's happening so that they can get permission from you to do what they are doing to you without feeling like they're breaking their own rules. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they reveal this in a movie in a way that sounds so ridiculously fictional. Oh, there's this robot. You're the robot. Billions of people are the robot. They've literally done the opposite. They took a robotic consciousness, perhaps from a group of tribes from Iran from 4,000 years ago. They figured out how to develop saving a very important person's consciousness, okay, into like a machine and transferring that through resonance frequency into other meat suits so that those meat suits walk around as these dead entities. And these dead entities continue living and learning and functioning as us, as meat suits. So there's basically 12 to 14, 12 to 14 personalities around the globe, of which, if you are not a person directly working for this entity, you're an NPC. You're literally just here to distract, to figure out a statistical analysis, to be experimented upon. That's what you're here for. That's what everybody is here for. And a select group is here to perfect the artificial intelligence of magnetic resonance frequency hacking for the whole world. They haven't figured out how to grow trees with frequency. They haven't figured out completely how to manipulate weather with frequencies. And sometimes there's people like me where they can try hacking over and over and over again, but my computer, it just doesn't work right. Right? And I just
Because
end
you're a
up
real human. That's why.
and I just end up with the functioning of what they consider garbage frequencies. So the want to question, the want to rebel, the want to tell the truth, the want to not be materialistic, the want to be human. It's those garbage frequencies that they're trying to eradicate. And what better way to perfect this than to experiment on people who don't even know about the situation, have no idea if they're being experimented on. Now, if you are one of those amazing, miraculous experimented on people, right? Where they say, okay, Rachel's going to do X, Y, and Z. Okay. And then they hack my brain and I run out and I do X, Y, but I don't finish Z. Okay. You become what they call a holy ghost. Okay. You could have been Jesus, but you didn't fulfill the prophecy. So we're going to kill you off. And now you're the Holy Ghost. You've got spirit in you, kid, but not all of it. But if you fulfill all the prophecies, you become Jesus. Okay? So they're trying to fulfill the prophecy of the second coming. How do they get that done? They have to get it done through the blood of Christ. And they're not being metaphorical. They're being literal. They literally need a bloodline, the Jesus Christ bloodline, in order
Real
to
quick.
fulfill their prophecy. Hello, 21 and me.
So here's the thing too. So this is, you brought up a very good point, because this is something I've theorized for quite some time. And I've gotten various warnings from people. Real quick, I'm going to throw this out there. I wonder if the Pazer family, yeah, I know who you guys are some of those people, and I'm putting them on blast because we need to research them more and we need to out them. But as I was saying though, so taking the as above, so below principle, right? They have a bloodline of their own. Why wouldn't we? And that is something that you look at what the Mormons have done with ancestry and this genetic vault that they have. So I definitely I'm with you on that. They're looking for something. They're absolutely looking for something.
So this actually intertwines with my theory, where you talk about how there was a group of rebelling family members That's what you can call them. A group of rebelling family members who did not believe in what this illegitimate table was doing and tried to start their own secret society in which they rebelled against this group. I have to say that that group appears to me, based off of what all the occultists, just like they just talk around me, I would have to say that they have dispersed. They're in hiding, they're secret, they're no longer communicating with one another, and or they literally no longer exist. So like there's like the head has been chopped off or something like that, and that is why things have just spiraled like whoa, way out of control, and things look really kooky. And now what's happening is that it's gotten to the point where they've experimented on too many people, and too many people now know about the gang stalking. They know about the Illuminati. They know about Freemasons. They're, everybody, you can put it together. It's 2024. And as I tell my child, there's Google. Okay. So you can just Google it, you know what I'm saying? And it comes up with a whole slew, it comes up with a whole slew of information that leads credence to this theory that there is something controlling the world behind a veil, and it is taking over the human brain, and it is not a legitimate entity. And so the more that we believe in its lies and its false strategies and its false structure and continue walking down the false path, we continue to see chaos and havoc and people destroying one another instead of building the community that we want. And this is why that's happening. There is a failsafe. It's like the guy who built this knew it was going to happen, like you said at the beginning of the show. So the guy who built all of this was like, holy shit, humans are batshit crazy. They are fucking crazy. And if I give them control over all of this, I don't even know what's going to happen. So before they take this from me, let's just think like in religious theories and stories, there's Odin. He gets tied to the tree of life. He gets brutally tortured, gets all of his powers taken from him by other gods, including his children, and then he gets killed, according to the story, according to the legend, right? So before that happens to the dude that's in charge, he's like, I'm just going to put this little fail-safe back here. They're not even going to notice it because they're dumb, right? And so it's all the way at the beginning of the program, and human beings are only at like, in reverse engineering. They started at step 637 and they're only at step 36 now. They're still 36 steps away from figuring out that there's even a failsafe. So that's why, like, the whole community is arguing about whether manipulation happens or not. Oh, it happens. It totally happens. Are they in complete control over it? No, they look like clowns.
I would so no, I mean, because what you're talking about here. I mean, the biggest thing I'm going to say is this: everything that you're saying is resonating with me very deeply at a profound level. It makes a whole lot of sense, and yes, I agree with you. This has been, I've even, you said 4,000. I feel it ended up happening. I'm with you. It was definitely old, but it could have even been around 8,000. The way we're looking at now, it could have started even earlier. And
seriously, I mean, it could be a language that is tens of thousands of years old that was lost and found and lost and found and lost and found again. Like, we just really don't know what's happening with humanity. We have been around way longer than the 13,000 years that they say that we've been around. I mean, when you look at it, they're like, oh, modern civilization has been around for 13,000 years. Okay, but then you go look and see, how long have humans been eating meat? 2.5 million years.
Absolutely.
So what has been going on for 2.5 million years that we have no idea what's going on? Are you kidding me? No, I'm sorry.
They've definitely altered some. They've altered something there.
They've
100%, because this is what I'm going to say. I mean, and if anybody knows Darwinism very well, because like I've said on my shows before, like I still have a foot or a part of my ass in the Atlantis rabbit hole. I mean, that's just something that's always going to be a big thing for me. But at the same time, like as somebody who doesn't believe in Darwinian evolution, I know it very well. And really what's funny is if you understand, and I mean you truly understand macroevolution and Darwinian evolution, you can take that theory and line it up to our time scale, and you can see it's a crock of shit.
Yes.
Just on observation alone. So you're
Yes.
telling me that you're telling me that we came out of South Africa 300,000 years ago. And then in the mere span of 2 to 3,000 years, which is impossible by Darwinian standards, because even if we're talking about microevolution, according to the consensual narrative, still takes hundreds of thousands of
Hundreds.
years.
Yep.
And,
Well, no,
and,
no, no,
and,
not just that. Hundreds of thousands of mistakes.
Yeah, 100%, hundreds of thousands of mistakes too. So you're telling me just in a mere 2,000 to 3,000 years, all of these random mutations just occurred for us to be who we are today. And I mean, like, this is what I mean. Like, it's becoming obvious now at this point, because that's the thing is, a
Fake
lot of
science,
the oh yeah, fake
masonry,
oh 100
Freemason science,
Freemason
Free,
science. I mean, you look at
Freemason
Darwin.
science,
He was a
Freemason
Mason.
health,
Yeah,
Freemason law. Are we seeing a pattern here? Right? And that's
exactly,
yes,
dude.
no, I completely agree with you. Okay, so I had to do my own research because I don't like being dumb, right? So when people were calling me dumb, I was like, oh hell no, that's not a thing, right? So I went and looked at micro and macro evolution, and I'll just break it down very simply for everybody. When you have an actual mutation where a butterfly changes color, it actually has to happen through some sort of radiation, some sort of nuclear or atomic interaction. And when you have a nuclear radiated body, it actually causes horrible mutations where you have like a 0.00000, and there's several zeros after that, 1% chance of surviving. Like you
Oh,
will
yeah,
die from a nuclear radiated mutation. You know what I'm saying? But for
100%.
some reason, Darwinian theory is foundational on this. Okay. So yeah, micro. Okay, yeah. All right. A butterfly wants to change its color. I like to change my hair. Okay, I'll
Yeah,
give it to you, right? But macro? No, that's insane. That is
no,
literally insane. The human body cannot change into something else. A monkey cannot change into something else. Your DNA is structured, it's like a wall. So like it can
100%.
ping, it can ping back and forth and like change its positions, which might give you like, green eyes instead of brown eyes. But it's not going to literally move out of your DNA structure and form a different DNA structure completely. It cannot do that. It's literally impossible to do that. So nothing, the DNA cannot change from one animal's DNA into another animal's DNA. It's not possible, not even
It
with nuclear reaction.
it
Nuclear
doesn't matter.
reaction will give you a third hand coming out of your belly,
It's like,
but
no, but
but
I'm
it's not going to turn
hundred
you.
percent with you.
It's not going
It's
to turn
like,
you into a Pegasus.
well, the biggest thing is this. It's like, because if you go by the consensual narrative of humanity, right? We were pretty much a what you would call singular, according to the consensual narrative. We were a singular race. We didn't have different colors. We didn't have different eye types. I mean, according to the consensual theory, I mean, we all had very dark skin, dark hair, and dark eyes. And
Well, I
then,
do
like,
want to point out that Adam and Eve theory is actually very accurate. If we all had different ancestors, there would be
uh-huh.
like 300 trillion people on the planet. So
Oh yeah.
it's very a highly probable theory that we came from one singular ancestry.
And I would agree with that too. And I do think that is very possible. And also too, kind of what I was, even what we were talking about just a little bit earlier with the bloodline of Christ. So I throw out this kind of this equation. So let's say Jesus and Mary Maggs did have kids. Let's say they did. And they had 4 kids. Let's just go out and put the number 4 there. So if you do the math throughout the past, let's say 2,000 years, and their kids had kids, and their kids had kids,
Hold on, can I
you're
just point something out real quick?
Yeah, go right ahead.
You use the magical number 4. I just want to point out if Jesus and Mary Magdalene had the magical number 4 kids, they would have Jesus, the engineer, the Pied Piper, and the Holy Ghost. Okay, so
Very.
continue.
I like that. I like that. But
Okay.
if you multiply that over the course of 2,000 years, you're looking at very possibly 144,000 in that gene pool.
144,000. Like, where did you come up with that amazing magical number? That just seems like
You're
way too coincidental.
and that you would have something along those
Yeah.
those numbers in the gene pool of this bloodline at this point in time. So it's like when we're like, even when we were just saying before too, it's like you take it's just a matter of observation at this point. Everybody, you can take Darwinian macroevolution and you could take microevolution and you could put it up to the consensual narrative timescale of humanity, and it don't add up. It doesn't add up. And and that's, you were right, it's Masonic science, it's Masonic healthcare. I have a good friend of mine right now who's dealing with the hospital gang stalking. I can't and it has to do with her son too, so I
Oh,
can't say her name. Yeah, I'll talk with you off air about that. I don't want to say her name right now because I don't want to ruin anything for her,
yeah.
but she is going to come on the show after this is all said and done with, and we are going to talk about it. But she's dealing with the Masonic arm of the healthcare industry
Yeah.
at this point in time, and that's something that I think a lot of people, that's another thing that kind of, if we're talking corruption knows no bounds, the healthcare industry indeed. And it's and the gang stalking, the taking of children from parents, because the parents are questioning what's happening to their children, questioning the procedures, and instead of being what, like, if a normal person would do, and maybe sit down with the parent and educate them, on what's happening and give them a little bit of a glimpse. It's kind of like what you said. It's the shame. They shame them into feeling
Shame and
bad
punishment.
for, yep, even to even have that question. And this is something I think that we just got to start bringing. And I'm going to say this, and I said this on my show last night, the FKN panel with Chris and Chris, Jen, and Karen. For some reason, I can't prove this. Don't get me wrong. I have zero evidence except firsthand reports, including my own, that they somehow know about people like us. I don't know how they do. I don't know. And that kind of even ties into what you're saying,
Oh, you
that
don't know
maybe
how they do.
well, the brain hacking, just like you were going to say, I was going to bring that up
Well,
because,
they can hack anything with magnetic resonance frequency. So as long as you can make it vibrate, as long as it vibrates, as long as it has atoms, you can hack it. So like you can hack water, you can hack somebody's glasses, you can hack a bird, you can hack anything. The birds aren't real.
dude, I was just about to say
I
that.
call cats Chia pets, CIA pets. I call cats CIA pets. Remember, like they had like the whole, patent for a cat being a radio for the
Hmm.
government, like that meme, that shit. I swear to God, that shit is real. Like, I know that I sound absolutely crazy, but when you think about it, when you think about like, how are they seeing everything? Dude, they have cameras any which way that they want to. They have cameras every which way. They've been watching everybody since birth. It's literally like the Truman Show. And they
Hmm.
have like an extremely large database where they just pull up somebody, so even if they didn't know about you, so you make a name for yourself, right? Your podcast
Hmm.
blows up and they're like, who's this Steven dude? And then it just pops up like the fucking architect from the Matrix. Okay. And it's just like, and it just gives like that one time that, you took your diaper off and like lassoed it over your head when you were 3 years old, to watching Care Bears when you're 6. And, I'm not referencing anything from my own life or anything, but
Oh, no, no, I told, it's funny because that most likely, but I think I am with you because like I said, I can't really prove anything I'm about to say, but I've had experiences that would lead me to believe that yeah, I have in some way have been monitored. And as long as I've been in this community at this point, I guarantee you I'm on at least 30 or 40 lists
Okay,
at this point. Like,
not only do I not give a hoot nanny, okay, about being watched at this point, like when I went on this walk with these occultists and they were like, okay, we're gonna show you everything, right? It freaked the hell out of me to realize that they had been able to watch me since birth. It freaked the hell out of me to realize, like, I'm walking down the street and that dude who's coming towards me, he knows everything about me. He's a fucking nobody and he's about to go tell them, oh, hey, she's in front of the bookstore. You know what I'm saying? That shit's creepy to think about. It absolutely does happen to at least some of us. I believe it happens to everybody, which is why I don't think I'm special. And I
mhm.
believe that when they want to fuck with you, that they reveal all of this to you in like some shock and awe campaign in the hopes that you'll freak out, lose your mind, and kill yourself.
Oh, exactly. So this is even something recently that's gone down. Again, I'm going to state I cannot prove this, but I just find it oddly, it's just really fucking weird. A lot of these instances. So, like, a lot of people know I started a new company like about a month and a week ago. And it's funny because I've driven this road to my new office multiple times at my last company. I've driven to the area. I never have any problems. The week I start working there, all of a sudden every single road has road work on it. That's on the every
It's
single one.
classic. It's
And,
actually classic.
and
You
it's
know what they're telling you? They're telling you, slow down, Stephen. Don't go so fast. If you go
that's
so fast, we're gonna have to destroy you. So
oh
I like
that's
to, yeah, no,
it,
that's what they're doing. They've done it to me. I've seen
oh
it.
that they're
I
doing it.
love the patented, we're gonna start construction around you.
Oh
I love
yeah,
it. I think it's
it's
amazing, okay?
but
Military installed towns, right? And then
oh,
this is where you
100%.
become hyper paranoid. You're like, everybody's an FBI agent? That 77-year-old, she's an FBI agent?
Dude, I'm telling you, and it's
That's
it's
not,
crazy. So
it's crazy. It's just
so
crazy,
so
but
this is what makes me believe it at this point though. And like I said, like it's so I found actually out of all of those roads, guess what? I found one that had no road work on it. So for a couple of days, I was like, awesome. And then 2 days later, I'm driving on this road and they have the entire section blocked off
come on,
that
this
I
totally
need
reminds me of the Truman Show.
I need to. I know, but no, and well, it's so at that point, it's like I think they know that I know, and it's like I'm kind of like I'm looking at them, and I'm like, fucking really? Is this the kind of time that you have? Like,
This
it's
is the
like
kind of
this is
time that
just.
they have.
I'm
It's
like, this is the
literally
kind of time
unreal.
that you have.
It's so unreal. They think that you are such a threat that they will do anything to you. So, like, we're talking about corruption all the way down to the fucking construction on the roads. You're not hyper paranoid. It literally happens to the best of us, I assure you.
Dude,
Okay?
it's so
It's
weird.
crazy. Okay, I went through, so recently I just had to poke the bear again, right? And I became a strategic consultant for a recall election for an extremely corrupt, and this is for entertainment purposes here, corrupt county commissioner down here, and she literally lied about me so profusely that I'm ready, right? Like if like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I can't say it publicly. I just want to think it really hard.
No,
Anyway,
this is so real quick. Let me give some of the new listeners. So we're kind of touching right now on Rachel's story in Pagosa Springs. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. Like I said, I will link the two original videos in the description after we're done with the stream tonight. If you guys want to take a look. Needless to say, she's in a very corrupt small town in Colorado. Where they do things on the level of the federal government, but on a small scale. And there's some
okay,
very weird occult energy there too.
let's see this lady who's part of a family who runs the town, okay? And this is all I ever hear about now, the family, the family, the family, right? Ooh, and I'm like, listen, I've been dealing with the Illuminati for a long time. This family is small cookies, okay?
Mhm.
And so this woman decided that she was going to pretend to be an agent for the people as our commissioner, and it's by law she is working an agency for us. So she's working on our behalf to sign contracts for us. Okay, that's the nitty-gritty. She pretended to be our agent while actually being a real estate agent for a business down here. And so she was actually working for her real estate agent boss and tried to force the taxpayers to pay for a $15 million new administration building that doesn't need to be built. And it just so happens that her boss is selling the property. So she gets a good hefty $500,000, and they get to fund a development of 50 new houses for this new developer. Yeah, okay, so I put a stop to that. I was like, "Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that," and I tried to have her recalled along with another few other people here in town, but she lied profusely about me. It even got to the point where they almost shut down a government meeting in the middle of my public comment because I brought up her corruption and her unethical behavior. And I told them that they could arrest me, but I wasn't going to stop speaking. And then they violated my rights and tried to be like, well, we'll just end the meeting right now in the middle of your public comment. Well, you can't actually legally do that, right? So I finished speaking. And then this commissioner actually just says, I wasn't going to respond, but, and then she starts saying things like made up shit that I said. So she was like this. She was like, "Yeah, I wasn't going to respond, but when people say that I'm threatening people," and then I responded in there's a video of this. I responded, "I didn't say that." And then she goes, "Yeah, and then they're saying that my family's threatening people." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't say that either." And then she's like, "That just constant lies." And I'm like, "Well, I didn't say that, so it's not a lie, right?" And in my mind, while that interaction was going on, I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why would she have like this pre-made speech, this spiel about this where I don't even say these things and she's responding to things like phantom statements that nobody said,
It's
including
really
me. And
weird.
I was like so weirded out by it, right? Well, Thursday's paper comes out here, the Pagosa Springs Sun. The paper comes out and they actually libel me. They put in quotes things that they say that I stated, they're in quotations, and I never stated them, along with Veronica's, the commissioner's response to the phantom statements. So they put the fake statements in and then use her response for the fake statements. Okay. So they completely libel me, and I make them do a retraction digitally within the hour. And then I told them they needed to do a retraction printed the following week. And I never heard anything back from the editor. So over the weekend, I ended up writing the owner of the newspaper, which is a large conglomerate that owns 31 newspapers across the country. And I said, hey,
Mm.
like, I don't know if you realize this, but I work for the Pagosa Daily Post, your competitor, and my editor has actually already written my response to your libelous article, and set the record straight. So she needs to do a printed retraction because this is very, very, very clearly just made up libel. And he wrote back very condescendingly and said, you were already made aware that there would be a printed retraction. And I wrote him back and I said, no, I wasn't. Let me know where that is in my response with the editor. And he didn't write me back. And he was just like, well, that's what we're going to do. And I said, okay, well, this simple retraction where you say I didn't make these statements is actually not going to work for me. You actually need to retract the whole article because the whole article is lying about me. And he thought that he was going to get what's called privilege. So the courts have magically and whimsically made up something called privilege for newspapers, where they are allowed to factually, okay, quote statements from public officials during a public meeting, even if the quotes are libelous. So
What
as
the?
long, oh yeah, so as long as what they say is actually truly what the newspaper prints, and as long as it is fair and honest reporting of the public meeting, okay, so as long as a majority of what they print is actually honest reporting, they can libel you by having somebody else make these libelous statements. Here comes all that making sense about the commissioner making these statements during a public meeting about things that I never said, so that the newspaper could say, yes, I can publish this. So they work in tandem together. They do this little meeting article, but the article also discusses a private meeting on Wednesday, the following day after the meeting, with the commissioner. And she again goes into how I lied and how I said that she threatened and blah, blah, blah. And so I wrote the guy back. I was like, no, 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 no. I don't think so. I just want to let you know this is not going to be resolved with this. You are not going to receive privilege with this. You libeled me at the beginning of the article. You have a third of the article about the public statements and Veronica's quotations. And then the rest of the article is her lying about me in a private meeting. Those private meetings and those libelous statements will make it so that this article does not have privilege. So he realized that, and the editor of the newspaper actually had to publish her own chastisement that I wrote for the letter to the editor. So front page, there's a retraction for the actual quoted statements, and then like the next page is a long letter to the editor calling that very same newspaper liars and swindlers, libelous, and all kinds, and they had to print it so that I don't have very much footing to sue, even though they tried to ruin my reputation. So
Dude, this is like gross manipulation of media
yes.
and journalism. It's like they're and we see this, and we see this on a large scale with corporate media and the mainstream media too. We see
Yeah,
this.
no,
We
that's
see
what I'm
this
saying.
everywhere. Yeah,
This small town newspaper is actually owned by a multi-state conglomerate that owns 31 other newspapers. So they're doing this and smashing people, smashing grassroots efforts to stop this money machine, this circle of greed and corruption, right? Well, now all of the women who were involved with slandering and libeling me and lying to the public, they all know that the public knows that they're a bunch of liars. So I've seen them around town, and they're like, when they see me, they literally like, oh God, like it's Rachel. Like they freak out because they know that they have been doing just horrible, horrible things, just blatantly lying to the town. The town knows that the newspaper is now a fraud. And so I'm walking around. The town has recently, this past weekend, after all of this has happened, I went on vacation. I was like, I'm getting out of this town. Y'all are fucking nuts, right? Underdeveloped children who are playing with millions of dollars of taxpayer money. That is what boggles my mind, right? So
that
that's
boggles
why
mine as well.
pissed off, right? And so like I don't even want to think about the T word as in trillions at the federal level. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm gonna go to California. I went out to California, went to the beach, kind of relaxed, tried to get my mind off of things, and came back here. But of course now it's Halloween. So in our small town here, we have what's called the Halloween Hootenanny. And like our town and the county actually puts it on, and they have little booths where like, you know, it's like the county surveyor and like the community design center and like all of these different businesses come up, and they have candy and they pass them out to the kids, and it's kind of like trunk or treat, but it's in a town park, right? And we're walking around and we get to the sheriff's booth. Okay. And I've recently had a little like a little interlude with one of the deputies there because she tried to arrest me when my neighbor's starving and half-shaven cat came over to my house begging for food, and I wouldn't return it to my neighbor. And she said, that's theft. And it's a long story, but they actually abandoned the cat. They were up in Denver and blah, blah, blah. So the cat was abandoned, came to try and get some food after several days of being abandoned and cold outside. And I brought it
Oh
in.
my
And then
goodness,
like 3
dude.
days later, my neighbor was like, "Do you have my cat?" And I was like, "Yeah, but like I can't give it back because like what the fuck is going on here, man?" And my neighbors lied to the police. And then the police officer called and said, "Well, I'm going to charge you with theft." And I'm like, "You're not doing shit to me." Like I hung up on her, and then I wrote like a scathing email where like I'm not going to be harassed by the police here, right? So we
Mhm.
get to the sheriff's booth, and my daughter says, "Oh, my brother loves cops." Right? He just loves police officers. And I'm just like, shut up, Rain. Just shut
Dude,
up. Just take the candy and go. Right? Okay. So,
it's like,
so
man, real quick, I'm gonna say this. You did the right thing.
thank you.
And the fact of and that there's very little that gets me truly angry in this world, and hurting innocence
Yeah.
is one of the things that if you want to see me go from 0 to 120
Yeah.
and have you thrown through a wall,
Pretty much.
that's one of the things that you do. And the fact of the matter is you took that innocence in and you did the right thing.
No, no. The great thing
And
was like the lady was my neighbor. She does not like me. This is after the recall effort, the whole 9 yards. So the whole like half the town hates me, right? And so she's screaming at me, and I'm like, you invited yourself onto my property, and now you're here screaming lies about me. And I just go, guess what, you guys? Just like that. I'm like, guess what, you guys? And they're like all confused. They're like, what? And I'm just like, I'm recording this entire conversation.
as
At
you
which
should
point
have been.
they flee there, and then they went and lied to the police. So then I write to the police an email like, I have a recording about what happened, so I'm not worried. If you try to harass me about this, like I'm gonna blow it up. You have no idea. So we're trick-or-treating, okay? And the police officer says, "Oh, maybe the little guy will be a police officer one day." Okay. And I'm like under my breath, I'm like, probably not. And he's like, "Why not?" And I'm like, right? I'm just looking around like, because you guys are the most corrupt motherfuckers on the face of the planet, literally the enforcement arm of like legalized theft. I don't even want to hear it, right? And gang stalking and drug dealing and human trafficking and the whole 9 yards. You're like the worst of the worst kind of human beings. Like, no, I would never let my son be a police officer. No offense to police officers who are trying to make a difference, supposedly. If you are,
Mhm.
maybe you could get off the force. Anyway, and so so
I'm
I'm
with
like,
you on that one
you
100%.
know, the guy was like, "Well, how would you feel if I was sheriff?" And obviously, I don't like any sheriffs, but I am forced to have a sheriff. So I looked at him and I said, "I don't know. I'd have to get to know you, right?" And so he was like, "Well, how come you don't know me now?" I'm like, "I don't know. How come I don't know you?" And he was like, "Well, I like to lay low." And I was like, "Yeah, not me." And he was like, "Oh, I know. We know all about you." That's what he said to me while I was trick or treating
Whoa.
with my kid. While I was trick or treating with my kids. Okay. And I just looked at him and I just go, "Well, yeah, I'm like the best gossip that this town has had in 40 years." So then I just walk away, and that was the end of it. Right. And that was basically the end of the trick or treating. There were like 5 more booths, and we leave, right? And it was getting pretty packed at that point. And so we leave, and I take the kids out to eat, and we go to eat, and the manager knows me, and he had a $25 gift card for me. So I'm like chilling there, relaxing, having a good time. We walk out to the car, and there are 3 sheriff's vehicles, 4 sheriff's deputies, a town police vehicle to the right of me, and 2 town police officers surrounding my vehicle. And I'm just like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. And I go to walk. I go to walk in there, and my daughter's like, "I'm scared, Mom. I'm scared." And I'm like, "I know, honey. That's what they're trying to do." And I looked at all of the guys, and they all looked at me, and then they walked away. They walked into the restaurant, probably to have lunch.
That's so, man. Oh
So
God.
this is what I'm dealing with
You're
for
making me want to come down there and be a vigilante.
Seriously.
That's
That's what
exactly
they're
what
most
you're making.
well, that's what
That's
they're
what you're
most
making
afraid
me want to
of. They're
do.
like, "Damn it, Rachel, she's like the leader of this anarchist movement who's clearly going to come down here and blow all of us up." That's the plan, right? Little do they know, I'm literally just making, like, princess buns to perfection for my daughter's hair for Halloween and, like, sprinkling glitter for pixie dust, and after I'm done with this, I'm gonna go make Halloween cupcakes, you know, and so, like, I homeschool and I consult on strategies. No, those strategies aren't taking over the world, but if you guys ever are interested, we need to have a poker game. That's how it all
Oh,
starts with me. If you really want to get on my good side, say that you're ready to have a poker tournament with me. We get like 7 groups of 10 people. We have them have a tournament, and it'll be fun. I've
I
got
say we
other
have
plans.
a 1,000-person tournament down in
Wouldn't that
Pagosa
be just the
Springs.
tits? I
Oh
would
man,
just
we'll
love
pull up
that, dude.
tables right in the middle of the street, man, and just
I
all
would
sit
I
down.
would be so happy. You know me. I live out in the middle of nowhere. Okay? The police are like, "Damn, this is a lot of effort to stalk this girl. She can see us coming from like 200 feet away." It's like not even yeah, that's not even cool. So, they don't come up here. Nobody comes up here. Everybody, basically the police. So, while we were going through this recall election effort, I was attending public commissioner meetings and I was talking with fellow electors. I was talking with fellow registered voters. I'm sorry. I know I'm not supposed to do that. Well, the county clerk actually tried to interfere and intimidate a bunch of us speaking about the process of a recall election. I wasn't trying to like get people to support it. I was just about to explain, well, there's so many different outcomes that can happen from a recall election because I don't know if you guys know this, but the Constitution had this little hole and gap in it where it said that the states get to actually figure out their election processes. And so the states had Republicans and Democrats elected into office. And so by nature, Republicans and Democrats actually wrote the recall election efforts, and it's very convoluted. So there's like 7 different outcomes that can happen. But basically, what happens in Colorado is the Republican Party comes together and they form a vacancy committee, and then they actually appoint somebody to take over when somebody resigns before their recall election. And so they just appoint another corrupt official to go in there. It's amazing. It's literally amazing. So I get to this point. I get to this exact point where I'm like, well, they make their own rules. And this Republican comes running over.
And it's, dude,
Okay.
I mean, talk about making your own rules. I mean,
Oh,
this is
dude, it's amazing. It is no, this gets better. Talk about making this story is about making your own rules. Okay. She runs over. She says, "You have to stop right now." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And she's like, "You cannot talk about this. This is a political issue." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a political issue. I'm not campaigning here." And she goes, "You are not allowed to campaign in public buildings during public meetings." And like there was an executive session, everybody was talking. Don't worry about it. I wasn't interrupting or anything. Everybody was talking while the commissioners were in a private room talking about things. Who even knows what they were talking about? Anyway, and so all of the other voters scatter. And she's like, "I did my job, right?" No, you didn't. Okay. So the sheriff is in the room. He is literally sitting like 2 rows in front of me, just 1 seat over to the left. Okay. And I'm sitting here like seething. I'm like, "Oh, she did not just do that." Right. So I look up the definition of campaigning and I walk up to her at her desk and I'm just like, "Hey." And at this point, I'm recording. And I'm like, "Hey, by the way, Chrissy, I was just wondering, like, is the recall election on the ballot?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, do I have like a petition in my hand right now where I'm asking people to sign it in this public meeting?" "No." "Okay, well, then I'm not campaigning because those are the only 2 requirements according to the law that's right here written, right here, right?" And she starts getting mad at me. She starts actually like raising her voice and like glaring at me like she wants to fight me. like this is high
Oh my
school,
God.
and she's like ready to pull my hair or something. It was weird,
Oh,
right?
fuck.
And so I go and sit down and I'm like, just so you know, like, I don't appreciate you doing that. You're telling me that I'm breaking the law when it's actually you breaking the law. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, yes, because anybody can just go look up the law and see that I wasn't breaking it. You're changing the definition of a ballot measure and saying that any political issue is a ballot measure. And that's not true. And she was like, whatever. And so I was like, okay, well, then I'm just going to look up the law. So I looked it up in front of like 30 people and I read it in front of them and the sheriff. And I was like, Chrissy, is it on the ballot? And she's like, I'm not going to answer that. And then I just go, that's okay, Chrissy. I already have you on a recording saying no. And then she's like, her face just okay. And then I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, we already established this. It is you breaking the law, right? And the sheriff's just sitting on his phone, like scrolling, like, I am not getting in the middle of this. There is no way. There's no way. Right. And so he watched me do this. So back in the day, I took them down with a bunch of legal issues as well. And then he's got to deal with me with his little deputy threatening to arrest me for a cat that I tried to save its life, and so like I'm just sitting here like, no, we're not dealing with this corruption all the way down because you're all getting orders from some sort of pedophile at the top,
Mm-hmm.
a drug dealer, like horrible drug user, pedophile, molester, thief, just like the
Adrenochrome
worst.
user, something
Yes,
like that.
yes, seriously, just like the worst part of humanity, all the way up there at the top, right? And I'm sorry, but I can't. I know that I shouldn't be judgmental, okay? But I cannot, as a good person, take let a bad person take control over my life. I just can't do it. There's something inside of me. I'm like ready to
Mm.
go about it. That's where the shield maiden bullshit comes into play. You know what I'm saying? Because I will.
Mm-hmm.
I'll fight for it. I got swords. I have bow and arrows. I have daggers, and I have practice. So I know I don't look
Exactly.
like it, right? But I've actually been
Never
heavily
underestimate. Yeah, yeah.
never, right? Actually, that's the trick. That is definitely the trick because people think she's stupid and dumb, so she doesn't know anything. She's not going to be able to figure this out. And so they just yap. They just yap right in front of me. And I am just quiet. I'm just like, do you guys not realize how well you're being observed? And don't forget that God can hack my eyeballs. There's that fail safe where we're going to. Okay, so we're talking about hacking the human brain. You can hack eyeballs, they vibrate. So you've got remote viewing going on here. And it's not just
Mhm.
you guys who can see, it's not just your little tribe that can see. God has a failsafe. The creator has a failsafe, and he's viewing the same thing you are. So that's where we're going into the wheat and chaff separation here.
Mhm.
And I'm almost clowning the world, punishing myself. I go through, like, I don't have to become a strategic consultant for a recall election for a corrupt official who's going to try and ruin my life in a myriad of ways. And I don't have to put myself through that drama, but I kind of want to.
Dude, it's well,
just
you
to
know at the
kind of
same
speed up the process so that they come out with their little construction workers and say, whoa, slow down here, you know you're in
it's
the Truman Show, and we have a plan, just sit back and relax and play your role. And I'm like, oh, I think my computer is broken. I really
it's
think my computer is broken.
it's exactly that. It is. It's exactly that. And it very much is this very strange, almost Truman Show-esque scenario. And that's
No, I
something I've
swear to God that the moon watches me through the sky. I
well, there's
swear.
there's
It's like
there's theory.
paranoia galore. And I'm just
Well,
like, why is the moon watching me?
there's a lot of theories in certain communities that the sun and moon are local to you.
Yes.
So that's a very interesting thing. And I'm gonna say this. You know, I've spoken about this a couple of times before on the show, and then we're probably gonna wind down for tonight because I gotta get to bed.
Oh,
But
hey, hold on, just a quick side
yeah,
note.
yeah.
In my intertwining of my theory here, what if the moon actually holds the secret answer for perfecting their AI? What if they don't realize that the secret lies in astronomy? What if they don't realize
Well,
that?
well, here's the thing too, and I'll add to that side note real quick. You know, we've talked about, and the conscious collective talks about the moon reincarnation matrix, and on how the moon is actually not what we think it is, and how it is a place where they grab up souls that are leaving, and they put them through the reincarnation trap. And I mean, that could potentially itself be a form of this organic artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
and it could very much so. And dude, ooh, but as I was saying with the Truman Show
It
thing,
opens the eyes when you see it. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. It's everywhere. It's everything. So all the answers go back, as far as I'm concerned, to this point A or point B. I can't say for certain 100% it 100% is this. What I can say is I'm fairly certain it goes all the way back to this, and there's probably other secrets we're unaware of.
Oh, and that's the beautiful thing about this, because as we move further, more and more layers of these, you know, we'll even say garbage frequencies or things like that, are going to get peeled off, and we're going to kind of be so I've gotten very gnostic with this, so I call it the remembering and the forgetting.
Okay.
And you know, right now, instead of the great awakening, I like the great remembering, and that we're leaving the forgetting and we're entering into the remembering. And so I do feel that, you know, once we the layers of the forgetting start to dissipate even more of this stuff is going to be revealed to us. And you know, I'll even take a quote from Frank Zappa, not the whole quote, but he says, you know, once they remove the stage, the table, and the chairs, and you're left with the brick wall, you're going to see what was there all along. And I think you know, based on tonight, you have me thinking pretty hard about some things after our
I
convo.
hope so.
Oh, absolutely, man. Every time I talk with you, I'm always leaving asking more questions.
It's
And
always about inception. If we could just plant that idea, right? And all it takes is somebody to just think about it. Just
oh
think
yes.
about it and look, observe, right? It's the
Oh, ex-
scientific method. Think like a scientist. Ask the
it,
question, observe, report. That's it.
and I feel too, also I've been noticing this. So my common ground podcast I'm going to be doing on December 11th, they don't like that, and they have let me know that they don't like that. They don't like that I'm doing that.
That's
And
interesting.
because I'm undoing your bullshit is what's happening. And you know, the conversation I had last week with Cody and Kyle, I hope you're watching, guys. It was a great chat. But you know, I sat down with two people of opposing views who do not, and I sat
Well,
down
I
with a
saw that.
fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, sat down, and we walked away with a deep understanding and respect for each other. And we've even, in some ways, almost unified a little bit, because we broke down on how we all want ultimately the same thing. We ultimately want to see the same thing here. And despite these minute differences, you know, the biggest threat that this man has, whoever he may be, is us unifying without his influence.
Right.
And that is the biggest threat. And everybody who's listening out there, for the love of fucking God, okay? I mean, look at everybody in history who has tried to unify the collective and outside of any government influence. What's happened to them?
Yeah.
They've all died. And you know what? I don't think that's in the cards for me. I think something a little different is going to go down this time around, and that's just where I'm going to leave it at that. But Miss
Okay.
Rachel, it was so cool to have you back on. Thanks
Well,
for
thank you
hopping.
for having me. I'll see you guys in the camps.
Yo, yeah, the fun. The fun camps are for your safety. Okay,
for
they're
my
just
safety.
strictly for your
Yeah,
safety.
I'm
Okay,
pretty
you're
sure
not
it's
allowed to
for
leave,
their
but they're for your
safety.
safety. No. Rachel, I got your Facebook profile. I got your audiobook in the description of both the Rumble and the YouTube videos. If there's anywhere else anybody can find you to check out what you're doing, why don't you let them know now?
I'm literally extremely boring. Okay. So you can only find me on Facebook at this point in time. I did make a TikTok account to attempt to make videos, but that hasn't happened. My Instagram is defunct. It was basically for my cooking. And I don't think that I have used X for more than 3 Twitters in my entire life. So, tweets, see, I don't even know the verbiage. That's how far out of like society, removed from society I am. So it's just Facebook, the Rachel Sunshine, and you can follow me. I make lots of public posts, and if you really want to see some details about my private life, that I'm like an awesome cook and I live off grid and I do all of this crocheting and reading by Twilight and stuff like that, feel free to friend request me and we'll see how it goes.
I dig it. I dig it. And if there's one thing I think a lot of us can take from tonight is, corruption really has no bounds, and there's something very strange going on here. And you guys have heard me say, we can't necessarily prove it. That's the plausible deniability at play, but we all feel it, and we have all, to a degree, experienced this in one way or another. So, I mean, we're looking at something that's, yes, it might be anecdotal, but anecdotal is still something, and we can't overlook, this anecdotal evidence.
Well, wait
And we
until it happens to you.
exactly. And if we all keep going down this road, it's bound to happen to somebody else, and that's for
Oh, it's
sure.
going to happen to everybody.
Oh,
Believe me.
I'm with you on that. Well,
You're either
guys,
going to know or you're going to be dead. So enjoy the show.
or the witness protection program, one off to that island somewhere. But alrighty, guys, thanks again for joining me for another BG Cast Wednesday Live podcast. Next week, we got Clark Jackson Fitness hopping on with me, and we are going to be talking about his spiritual evolution, the spiritual side of getting healthy. As you guys know, I am a huge health and fitness enthusiast myself, and I do feel that if you increase the health of your body, by default, your frequency is going to increase, and we can see this on many levels. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you, Clark. It's going to be a good time. Other than that, everybody, have a good night. Thanks for joining us. Take care. And here is the awkward little pause before